The second half sprint begins tonight. JJ Redick finally has a full lineup to work with, but does he have enough runway to get the right combinations? We'll tell you next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on weekends, even on holidays, and now more than once a day, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one through Apple, perhaps Spotify. Maybe you're one of the 37,000 subscribers to the Locked On Lakers channel on YouTube. No matter how you're doing it, you're making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in this or any other known universe. I'm Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky, 20 years nearly covering the Lakers for ESPN, for the LA Times, for The Athletic. And Andy, this is a fun time of year. We are finally reached the end of the All-Star break. Games are starting again, and the Lakers, for all the hand-wringing, for all the disappointment some people might feel over their point differential, for their status even as a team that is not believed to be an inner circle, I believe, as you put it, title contender on yesterday's show. They are still 33-21 heading into the break and are playing at least from a position of a team with, aspirations to do something.
Well, and those aspirations are going to be better served if they have their entire roster, which it appears is going to be the case Friday against the Clippers, a team with entirely different aspirations to be dealing with.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I took a shot at the Clippers. That's exactly what I did there. In case it was not clear to anybody listening, I was making fun of the Clippers.
You see, aspiration. I'm kidding.
Yeah, and they're very, very transparently obvious cap circumvention scandal that at some point I think the league is going to punish them for, because increasingly it's looking incredibly obvious. Not that it ever didn't from the beginning.
It's the rare double entendre, Andy. It's the rare double entendre that doesn't involve sex jokes.
Well,
at least as far as we know. Maybe it does.
I could make a seed joke, but I'm not going to do it. But anyway, you dared me. The Lakers are hopefully going to have
segments.
It would appear the Lakers are going to have the entire roster available. JJ Redick said during Thursday's practice that everybody participated in full and that he expects Luka Dončić is going to be available, that Austin Reaves is off his minutes restriction, Deandre Ayton seemingly no longer dealing with the knee. Luka said during his practice availability that he will probably play. He noted that he's got to talk with the medical guys, but he did not seem particularly concerned. And given all of the lead up with the games that Luka missed, the time Luka's had off post All-Star game, and also that he played in the All-Star game, I am going with the assumption that they're going to have all hands on deck for the first time this season. Game 55, we will see the first starting lineup this season that JJ Redick will be selecting purely because those are the five guys he wants to put on the floor, as opposed to who's not available, who's on a minutes restriction. That is bonkers that it will be February 20th of an NBA season, and it'll be the first time JJ says, let me follow my heart.
And yet, even though it's February 20th and he no longer plays for the team, Gabe Vincent will somehow be in that starting five. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be Taurean Prince. I am excited about this because not just because of the star factor here. Like, you finally get these. I realize the 152 minutes that they have played to this point together have not looked great. And, historically, the problem with the combo has really been the LeBron and Luka minutes for reasons that make a fair amount of sense in terms of defense and what that does.
There's redundancy on both sides of the ball with
sure. It is possible that with a shift in the starting lineup where you have presumably DeAndre Ayton still starting and Marcus Smart in the starting lineup instead of Rui Hachimura, and that is where we expect this to go. It is possible that some of those issues would be mitigated in ways that they aren't when Rui starts in that spot next to LeBron. So, we'll see what that looks like. But, so I don't know exactly if the numbers that we've seen to this point will apply in the same way. But, what I'm excited to see is not just the impact of having those three guys on the floor and like at least the opportunity for the Lakers to be their best selves. But Andy, just the opportunity to get everybody slotted in a way that they ought to be and everybody available to try whatever lineup combinations that JJ wants. So you can have a 2-shooter lineup with, Kennard and Rui playing with the reserves. You can have one of those guys on with the, Luka and LeBron. And I know, Andy, you're interested in finding out exactly not just how he splits up or how he, the three of those guys play together, but what it looks like when he puts two of them on the floor at a time.
Well, you have just more of an opportunity to do that when A, all three are available, but B, Austin is no longer on a minutes restriction. He's no longer coming off the bench. Austin and Luka, their minutes together have been really good, both in terms of the eye test, but also the advanced numbers, things like that. LeBron and Austin have not been as good this season, but there's enough of a track record in the past with those two playing well together and, the numbers backing it up, the eye test, all of that, that I feel like if they get enough runway over the next 28 games, the two of them together can be prolific. The real problem has been LeBron and Luka. And when you have more bodies, more floor combinations, like, for example, we've seen the LeBron solo minutes, like LeBron working primarily with a bunch of bench guys like Jackson Hayes and Vando, and I think Jake LaRavia will be a part of that. Maybe Rui in there, maybe Luke Kennard or whatever, but very high tempo, high energy, a lot of defense surrounding LeBron being able to completely orchestrate everything, get a lot of guys who can run in really good positions. Those looks have been pretty successful. You get more opportunities to do that with more bodies that you can cycle through everything, more options for JJ when those guys aren't out on the floor. Like, JJ will finally just get the opportunity to land on the combinations that he wants and actually get them more reps in synergy because he's not having to constantly swap things in and out.
Yep. Quick reminder, you can have your cake and eat it too. Birthday cake flavors back with 5-hour energy. No fork needed. Vanilla-y cakey flavor, caffeinated kick and no sugar. It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, it's like they need to, there's not a lot of time to get this right. I think everybody understands that, but they cannot possibly reach whatever the ceiling looks like without getting some of these reps. And I also think there's a mental lift, and we'll talk about things, JJ talked about the defense today or Thursday afternoon at practice and, the effectiveness of the zone, and you can expect them to continue using that and some of these other things. But I just feel like too, there's a mental lift that comes with having those three guys available. And maybe everybody's looking at all the analytics and this and that, whatever, but I am pretty sure that inside that locker room, they're not looking at it at the 152 minutes and then minus 7.8 or whatever it is net rating or and all of that. They're looking at it as we've got Luka Dončić, who is on some days the best player on the planet. We've got Austin Reaves, who is playing like an all-star, and we've got, I think, the greatest player to ever play the game in LeBron James. And they're all healthy and they're all going to play. That is a mental lift for this team going into the second half of the season when, again, it's like they don't profile as a team that is in line to go deep in the playoffs. I don't want to get all plucky little Lakers here, but nobody is particularly taking them seriously in that context. And yet they have a chance still to be, I think, as high as a 3 seed. That is totally reasonable. They're not going to get the 2. They're not going to get to San Antonio, but if they play well, they could certainly be a top 4 team going into the playoffs. And that puts you in position to win a round or 2. So,
I mean, they're hoping that Kevin Durant's Twitter habits and burner phones and burner accounts may lead to some further
erosion.
The Rockets have not been looking good over the last few weeks. That is the team that they're chasing. And hopefully what it was clearly Kevin Durant saying this stuff with a burner account leads to some dissension in the locker room and some problems that the Lakers can capitalize on with Houston, because just getting the opening round of the playoffs to begin in LA would in and of itself help a team that still does not have the runway that they would ideally want heading into the playoffs, but also too, just for we'll talk about some of what JJ said about defense and, the momentum that they're looking to build. That's all going to just be better served with everybody available and just the full complement of options and just the mental release for all these guys of just knowing, okay, we finally have a roster and we're not spending so much energy trying to paper over this guy missing or this guy missing or the thing 100%. That we can't do because this guy isn't here. Obviously, the fact that they're beginning this way on Friday does not mean that it's going to stay that way for the final 28 games. But this is at least
not even get to Saturday. But
look, man, this is the beginning that you're hoping for.
All right. After the break, we'll talk a little bit about what JJ said about the defense, reasons to be optimistic heading into the break, or heading into the home stretch out of the break. So we'll get to all of those things. Plus, the Lakers filling that Tim Harris spot really quickly. Do all that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. The Winter Games are officially here. Congratulations to the U.S. women's hockey team.
And that game was awesome.
And if you're anything like us, like the average sports fan, you are locking in for events that you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel, it makes sense, from medal counts to individual events to finding your angle in sports you care about the most, at least every 4 years. FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. Curling, all of a sudden, takes on real intensity, excitement. Even you don't really even quite understand how curling works or the rules. It's must watch when you're locked into the competition with FanDuel, keeping the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games are on. There's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by Quo. New year, it always brings new systems. And this is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has got to be a better way. And there is, Andy. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. That's spelled Quo. And it's the smarter way to run your business communications, because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. So what you want simplicity, you want efficiency, and that works with Quo. The whole team calls, text each other with one shared number, so nothing gets missed. Works right from your phone or computer. You can even keep your existing number, and everyone can see full threads and conversations, which makes replying faster and more personal. All of these things put together, it's no surprise Quo is rated #1 business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. So make this a year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. So I look at this, Andy, and I see an opportunity here because, as JJ mentioned, and we'll talk about the defense here in a moment and get to Lon Rosen. The Lakers have had a ton of injuries. Our friend Jovan Buha tweeted out like some of the among the playoff contenders, like which teams have missed the most games and stuff like that. And Lakers missed, I think he said 100, something like 140 games out of their rotation. But some teams, Minnesota has been pretty healthy. Other teams like Denver, right up there with them. Ironically, Oklahoma City has actually missed more games than anyone this year, and they're still where they are. It's a little bit,
it's a bit misleading. Like someone like Nikola Topic, who
this is just among rotation players,
just among the rotation guys.
What Jovan was counting here, because they've had long stretches without Hartenstein, they've had long stretches without Jalen Williams, and now SGA has missed a bunch of time. The difference between the Lakers and some of these other teams is that Denver, for example, has some degree of continuity, even that they can lean on, even when guys like Gordon and Watson and those guys are out, because they've all played together. And so when they come back, they're leaning on stuff that's familiar. They have a program that's more familiar. The Rockets, obviously you're integrating Kevin Durant, but aside from that, made a run last year in terms of like a regular season run. There's some continuity there. My point with all this isn't to say the Lakers are in better shape than some of these other teams, only that some of their disadvantage might be a little bit more mitigated by some of the misfortune of other teams. Then I think sometimes we remember it's very easy to get very focused on your own group, and I think forget sometimes that things happen to other teams as well. So again, the Lakers come at this place from a spot of disadvantage, but at the very least, going into the second half of the season, Oklahoma City still missing some players. Golden State's not going to have Steph. It looks like that actually could be kind of a bigger problem.
It will affect the Warriors on the 28th when the Lakers play them. It's I believe Saturday the 28th or Friday or Saturday the 28th. Either way, Steph is not going to be playing.
No. Those March games against Denver, we still haven't seen any updates about Watson or Aaron Gordon. So just like, little things like that around the league. If the Lakers can get healthy and use these games, it's a tough schedule, tough stretch of game after game after game after game. But if they can keep everybody on the court, they can maybe make up a little bit of ground in some of these places, just in terms of that preparation that goes into making you feel like you are prepped and ready for the playoffs, record notwithstanding. If you want to comment that, I was going to tee you up for some of the defense. You were at practice on Thursday.
No, I wasn't.
I'm sorry, but you heard what JJ said.
I did hear what JJ said. Yes, I was doing radio on 710 ESPN.
Sorry about that. But he talked at length about defense, about their use of zone and things like that. And it's just interesting to hear a coach talk about success with stuff like that and kind of leaning into their playing it effectively, players talking about the confidence they have in leaning on the zone sometimes, because generally speaking, like that's been kind of a taboo thing for NBA teams really since they were allowed to start using zones a bunch of years ago. But this is kind of where the Lakers are, and they're recognizing what they're good at.
Well, I think part of the reason it was considered taboo was because it was considered a sign of weakness.
Correct.
And teams often don't like to go to that because it is acknowledging weakness. But the flip side of it is, if acknowledging that weakness takes you to a place of better strength, assuming you can get past the ego part of it, then you're actually in a better place than you had been before when you were trying to avoid zone. Like JJ actually had a great quote in talking about the effects of the zone defense, where he said, last year, our man defense was zone. This year, our zone is man. Basically talking about the most effective or aggressive or disruptive ways that they have found to play. Luka mentioned how using the zone defense, it feels like things are slowing down for them as they're looking to defend. JJ talked about how playing in zone over this, past few weeks, They've had the number one defense in a half court when they've started possessions in a zone. The transition defense has gotten better when they've sprinted back to get into a zone. He's talked about the effectiveness they've had, where of the 24 seconds, they'll play maybe 15 or 16 in zone, then they switch to man. But it's allowed them to kind of have their cake and eat it too, where they can close these possessions as tight as possible with man, but allowing themselves not to potentially either lose track of guys or just be more ineffective over the course of entire defensive possessions. Yeah. And at the end of the day, again, like Bomani Jones used to tweet out all the time, zone is for cowards. What's more, and I understand the sentiment, and it's an awesome quote from Bomani.
Sure.
But the flip side is using man defense because you don't want to admit you need a zone. That's actually more cowardly. So it's good. It's good to see them leaning into some things that are unconventional. And the more they see it work, the more enthusiastic they're going to become. And I think also the more confidence it's going to give them when they go to other looks that maybe don't play into their strengths as much.
It's a little like the little Jerry Seinfeld episode. It's 3 a.m. I'm at a cockfight. What are we clinging to? Mm-hmm. Elaine talking to the group there. Like, when your man defense is that bad, like, what pride are you clinging to? It's like you need to get stops.
I've never seen a team switch with less outward pride than the Lakers do with their defensive switching. I mean, it's so passive, they might as well be dead.
Right. It's just like, they often, at their worst, the Lakers play defensively like a team that is frightened. They switch like a team that is frightened. When you watch teams that switch aggressively and effectively, they are up on those switches. They get up into your face. They are right there when the switch happens. They're pushing teams higher up on the floor, and they're making it hard for teams to get the matchups that they want, because the switchiness is not leaving the other teams with easily exploitable matchups. Even if you end up with the guy that you want on the player that you want, it's a little further away from the basket or with a little bit more ball pressure or whatever it might be. The Lakers, and Redick has talked about this, like they look too often like they're scared of that first step. They're scared of the blow by, but they're also, scared to, they can't guard the perimeter and they can't get up on people. It's like it's the worst of all possible worlds. And this has allowed them an opportunity to do things that they kind of are good at. And some of the things with coaching is you have to move to the strengths that your players have, even if it's not exactly what you want to do, even if the other kids at the playground are going to make fun of you. And you watch a lot of these, broadcasts and stuff on the different carriers now, and the Lakers do kind of get mocked for the amount of zone that they play. But if you're not giving up 160 points a game, that's a good starting place.
I mean, if it makes them feel any better, they were getting mocked while they were playing conventional defense. So what difference does it make?
That is true. So we'll see. And, with a better offense and a little bit more confidence in their defense, they can hopefully get good enough that with consistency that they can win some games down the stretch. Lon Rosen is going to take the role held by Tim Harris for about 35 years with the Lakers. We talked earlier in the week about Harris's departure. What does Rosen's arrival mean? We'll tell you next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Drink. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We are looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and might just be sleepers. The board's set. Flavors are ready, and only one's going to take the top spot. 5 Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors, something for everyone with that zero sugar boost. Flavor I'm drafting, peach mango. It's ripe peach flavor with mango adding tropical depth and sweetness. It's slightly richer than the citrus flavors, although I do love citrus. And
that's true, he does.
The peach mango is a balanced tropical blend. Maybe add a little lime to it, mango, peaches, and lime, little Frank Ocean vibe. If you know, you know. And I'm also open, though. I'm like the watermelon. I like the blue raspberry, that scouting report, but peach mango, that's my draftee. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon.
Okay. I do want to mention to people that the Everydayer Club is out there and it is available to you if you are interested. It's a great way to connect to Locked On, the hosts of this show, Locked On Lakers, but also other hosts around the network. You can talk to, it's not just us on the Discord servers that are opened up to you if you join the Everydayer Club. But there are a lot of hosts there. You want to find out what's going on with other teams. You want to trash talk with other fans. You can do it on the Locked On NBA Discords, including, of course, Locked On Lakers. Andy and I will be in and out looking for material for the show, talking to you, and all that good stuff. You also get the show ad-free, $5, $50 a year, $5 a month. Gets you access to the Everydayer Club. Check out the show notes or go to lockedonlakers.supercast.com to learn more information. Or if this isn't for you, you can continue taking in the show as you have been, and we will love you just the same. So the beginning, Andy, of, I guess, the evolution from the previous regime was when the rest of the Buss family was dismissed from the team, no longer majority owners. You are just a clock punching employee like the rest of us that can be fired. And Joey and Jesse Buss were gone. Tim Harris, though, had been around for 35 years. He was part of the inner circle with Jeannie Buss. He announced earlier in the week, it was reported at least, that that Harris would be leaving at the end of the year. Lakers didn't waste any time naming a replacement, and it's a name that is familiar to Lakers and Dodgers fans alike.
Lon Rosen, who, crazy. I mean, you want to talk about somebody who's been in the world of LA sports like forever. He actually began his career in this industry with the Lakers as an intern while still in college during the Showtime era, before eventually becoming a front office exec with the Lakers. Then he became famously Magic Johnson's agent, and then he began working with the Dodgers, and he's had a high-profile role with them. And I had actually heard earlier in the week that Lon Rosen was very much in pole position for this job. I did not feel comfortable relaying that information, but even if I had not heard that, this would not have been even sort of surprising. Nope. He is in a lot of ways the very predictable, logical, obvious candidate. Statement from Jeannie Buss. For many years, I have seen the impact Lon has had on our industry. Over that time, I have learned that Lon is not just a great person, but also has a deep understanding of both sports and entertainment, has a true feel for where the business is headed. Finding someone who could fill Tim's shoes overseeing the business side of our organization would never be easy. The answer, we soon realized, was someone Mark and I both knew well, and someone who already understood the values, culture, and commitment to excellence of both the Dodgers and the Lakers. Lon Rosen said, "I'm beyond grateful to Jeannie and Mark for trusting me with this incredible opportunity. As everyone knows, the economics of the sports business are constantly changing. They will continue to, but at root, my job is a simple one: figuring out how to do right by our employees and our partners while ensuring that the Lakers continue to provide an unparalleled experience for our fans in Los Angeles and around the world. I look forward to working alongside Jeannie, Rob, and the whole front office to make that happen." Lon Rosen is both very, very qualified for this job, and someone that is not even sort of surprising to end up in that seat.
No, not at all. And I think, on the one hand, it is certainly reasonable to worry. It's like, oh my God, are they doing this thing again where they just, pick a guy who knows what it means, Andy, to be a Laker and all these other, and yes, it's a legitimate question, legitimate concern. I don't really look at this though as the Lakers recycling names and expertise and stuff from the past, trying to, bring back the glow of the Showtime era, and back when the titles were the only, all that stuff. This to me is a Dodgers hire. This is the beginning to me of taking the blueprint of the Dodgers and how they are run and how they do things at Chavez Ravine, and beginning to apply that in El Segundo, because people may forget Lon Rosen was among the first people that was hired when Mark Walter took over the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So I mean, like this is he's doing the same thing here that he did there, and it's the same guy. That he has a great deal of expertise in the NBA is, to me, the part that's important, even more so than the Lakers. Like, he has that background, but I see this as a Dodgers template thing rather than a recapturing the magic with former alumni kind of thing.
I mean, I think I don't want to say that it's a recapture the old glory move, because I don't think that's fair to Lon Rosen, and Lon has not been formally involved with the Lakers for so long that I think that in and of itself would be too reductive a way of framing it. And he does have the exact experience of doing very successfully with the Dodgers what he would be asked to do with the Lakers. He has that relationship with Mark Walter. It makes sense that this would be Mark Walter's first big hire, someone that he is that familiar with. That being said, the thought of guy that had, familiarity and, somebody with connections to the Lakers, that did cross my mind. It will only bother me, and it's too early to say this right now because Lon Rosen is just one guy. And again, it cannot be stressed enough, as a standalone hire in a vacuum, he makes beyond perfect sense.
Right.
I just want to see outside voices brought in, like true outside. Sure. I want to see that happen.
But the different the other thing is, it's just important to remember, this is, and Jeannie's very comfortable with Lon, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
But
yes,
this is not Jeannie bringing in somebody. This is Mark Walter, bringing in somebody into his inner circle that he trusts.
Yes, absolutely.
So I just think it's a fundamental difference.
No, it's a fundamental difference, except it also happens to be somebody with that connection to the Lakers, and that it happens to be somebody Mark Walter is also very comfortable with, and somebody that is qualified, doesn't change the fact that it's somebody who has a perspective in the NBA, if nothing else, that is very informed by the Lakers, which, to make it clear, is not me saying I don't think Lon Rosen is a good hire. I do think he is a good hire. It just reinforces my desire to see at some point more outside voices brought in.
Fair enough.
But again, you can't expect that. I'm not going to ding Lon Rosen as a hire simply because Lon Rosen is not an outsider, when there are so many other spots to fill beyond Lon Rosen, and he makes perfect sense.
Right.
His hire is just a reminder to me of what I want to see. That doesn't make him a bad hire at all.
Yeah.
I think it's a good hire.
I see the Lakers ties as honestly more coincidental than anything, but we'll see how this starts. I mean, it does seem like for some of these roles, as the architecture starts to get built out, Mark Walter has a pretty good idea of who he wants to fill some of these positions. Where I think we will see the kind of the rubber meet the road in terms of what fans are really interested in is when these hires start to bleed into the basketball operations of things, and who is in control of that process. So we'll see what it looks like. But the reshaping of the roster of the front office roster under Mark Walter begins. And it's something to keep a close eye on going forward. We, of course,
it's exciting. It's definitely exciting for the Lakers moving forward.
We will, of course, be coming back to you after the Clipper game tonight. The Clippers did do the Lakers a favor, beat the Nuggets on Thursday night, and everybody had to work real hard to do it.
I was going to say they did
they
did the Lakers a favor by playing on Thursday night,
playing hard and having to play a tight game. New Clipper Benedict Mathurin, 38 points for the Clippers off the bench. So that's something to watch on Friday's game, how the new Clippers roster looks. And then second night of a back-to-back. So we'll see how it goes for the Lakers. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you hang out with over 37,000 subscribers. We'll be back after the game on Friday.